When I was a computer science major, my biggest fear was completing my degree and then not being able to get a job in the field that I wanted. Because I knew that just having a computer science degree does not guarantee you a job. Think about it for a sec. Every computer science major that graduates has a computer science degree. So how do you stand out from the crowd? So how do you differentiate from other computer science majors? Therefore, I did a few things and I was able to complete 3 paid software engineering internships and secure a full-time job as a software engineer before I graduated. And I'm making this video to help computer science students being able to do the same. Get software engineering internships while you are in school, and that will lead to a full-time position before you graduate. So let's take a look. Software development or software engineering is a wide field. So you can be a software engineer that works on mobile development or web development or game development or desktop applications development or embedded systems. There are many options. Therefore, I recommend that you do some research and figure out what do you want to do within software engineering or software development. Just do some research, use ChatGPT, use Google, use YouTube, and basically explore what are your options with a computer science degree. It also doesn't have to be software development or software engineering, right? There are many options for a computer science degree, but just sit down, do some research, and pick a field. And once you have a field, I recommend that you start learning the basics of that field. If it is web development, you just Google Introduction to Web Development for Beginners or Web Development for Beginners. And you start learning the basics of that field. Creating simple projects. In the case of web development, it can be as simple as creating an about page just using HTML. Then you go ahead and learn some CSS for styling. Then you learn JavaScript and create a simple project like a to-do app or something like that. So the point is, figure out what you want to do and then go ahead and learn the basics of that field. What are the salaries expectations? How is the day in the life of a software engineering web development? Just so that you know what you're getting into, right? Okay, now that you know the field that you want to get into, it's time to start creating a profile around that field so that you can stand out from other applicants when you start applying to internships or entry-level jobs. To stand out and get interviews, I recommend that you do these 5 things. Now, as a disclaimer, I don't think that you need all of them, but if you have them, you have better chances, right? So let's take a look. My first recommendation is that you learn Git and GitHub. These are tools that you use every day as a software engineer or as a software engineering intern. Just keep in mind that instead of GitHub, a company might use GitLab or Bitbucket. Basically, it depends on the company. But if you know the basics of GitHub, you should be able to pick up those similar tools fairly quickly. I'm going to create separate videos for each of these bullet points, but in summary, if you don't know what Git and GitHub are, Git is a tool that you can use locally to keep track of your changes. So let's say that you have a Git repo and that Git repo contains all the files that make up your application. And then you're able to use Git to manage those files. Then Git is able to keep track of all your changes. Then you can go back to a previous change if you need to, You can revert a specific change. You can, basically commit your changes or save your changes, and much, much more. So Git is very powerful, but you don't need to know all of that, right? You can just learn a few commands to be able to keep track of your changes locally and then push those changes to a remote repo that live on GitHub. You can use GitHub to store your code, and then other developers on your team can pull that code, make changes, push it back, create a merge request, and then basically the owner of the repo or the person that is in charge of the project can review the changes, provide feedback. You can, then you can address that feedback. And then once everything looks good, those changes are merged in the main repo of the application stored on GitHub. And the main reason why I recommend learning Git and GitHub to stand out from other candidates is because people can look at their activity chart and see how active you are. So this was back in 2019 when I was looking for my first opportunity. They can also see for how long you have been on GitHub. Therefore, I think this is a good thing to take advantage of. Then you can also use it to host your portfolio for free or front-end based applications. So this is my portfolio. This is hosted from GitHub pages completely for free, and I'll be creating a video on how you can do the same. But you don't need to host your projects. If it is a desktop application, you can still create a project on GitHub and just add a video or a screenshot of the application so that others can view it. So finally, about Git and GitHub, I just want to emphasize that this is something that you can learn the basics on a weekend. On a weekend, you can learn the basics of Git to manage files locally on your computer and pushing them on GitHub, and how to host your portfolio for free. That's something that you can learn on a few hours. Now, the next item is building projects in the area that you are interested in. If you want to do web development, then you will start creating very, very basic web pages or web apps. The same for mobile development, the same for web development. Basically, start creating very basic projects on the field that you want to get into. And those simple projects, start uploading them to GitHub, creating new repos and pushing that code out. Because again, that basically will keep track. You'll be able to go back and see all your spaghetti code and see for how long you have been doing this. So therefore, I recommend that even very simple applications, you go ahead and push them to GitHub just to get into the habit. Obviously, as you start learning new things, you will start creating more advanced projects. And once you have 3 or 4, I'll recommend 4 solid projects. By solid projects, I mean projects that have a user interface and basically a database so that you can have persistent data. And then, so once you have those 4 solid projects, you'll be able to create a solid resume without professional experience. Now you will have a projects section in which you basically describe those 4 projects, and that will really boost your resume without professional experience. Again, I'll be creating a video on how to create a resume without experience. Then the projects, you can also obviously showcase them on your online portfolio. I'll be also creating a video on how to create an online portfolio, and your projects, then you can also showcase them on your LinkedIn profile. And I'll be also creating a video on how to create a professional LinkedIn profile to get a job as a software engineer. So now that you're getting interviews, it's time to pass interviews. To pass interviews, you don't need to be perfect. You just need to do better than other candidates. And how can you do better than other candidates? Well, I think by knowing what to expect and then just practicing as much as you can. So, there are two main types of interviews. You have behavioral interviews and then you have technical interviews. In a behavioral interview, they will ask you questions like, tell me about yourself, why do you want to work for us? Tell me about a time when you had a conflict with a classmate. Tell me about a time where you faced a challenge. What is the most um, what is the most challenging project that you have worked on? Things like that. Again, I'll be creating a video in detail about how to pass behavioral interviews. And then you have technical interviews. So here they will assess your coding or programming ability, basically, your communication skill as well, your problem solving, how you think, how you approach a problem. And different companies conduct technical interviews different. Some companies ask lead code type of questions, like basically testing your knowledge of big O analysis, data structures, algorithms, and sometimes domain specific questions. If you go for a software engineering internship, that's basically based on web development, they might ask you web development stuff. And that happened to me on my first software engineering, actually on my second software engineering internship. Basically, I was asked web development specific questions because my whole profile was for a web development position. So they asked me about what I knew, right? Which was web development stuff. Again, I'll be creating separate videos about, technical interviews. But in this video, I just basically wanted to give you an overview, right, of the whole process. Then after you're ready to start interviewing, I think it's time to start reaching out. If you have friends that are working in the software development or software engineering field, you can basically show them what you have, right? Your projects, your resume, your LinkedIn profile, your online portfolio, and basically you can ask them to refer you to an open internship or an open entry-level job. And they will more than happy to refer you because company offer bonuses for referral. Like if I refer someone to the company that I work for and that person is hired, I get a 1,000 bonus. There are companies that offer 5,000 bonus. Therefore, don't be shy to ask for referral because it's a win-win situation. You can also reach out to hiring managers. You can, reach out to recruiters on LinkedIn, right? That's why you need a professional LinkedIn profile. And then you can also apply to opportunities directly, like going on LinkedIn, Indeed, internships.com, and apply to opportunities directly. So before or after the behavioral interview, they might also send you some coding problems like HackerRank or LeetCode type of questions. And again, it depends on the company. If you're applying for a small company, that's not likely to happen. But if you're applying to bigger companies, that's common. Then they might also send you like a homework assignment prior to the technical interview. And then basically they review your code. If that looks good, they invite you to a technical interview. And in the technical interview, they'll discuss your homework assignment. So this whole process, it's different from company to company, but I recommend that you know the basics of big O analysis, the common data structures out there, common algorithms, And if you're going for a specific domain, let's say web development, game development, mobile development, basically know the basic of your field in case they ask you like domain specific questions. This is actually my first YouTube video, so thank you so much for sticking with me until the end. If you have any questions, if there are any videos that you would like me to make, please let me know in the comments below, and I'll see you on the next one.